It's 2 p.m. Central African Time. Thank you for choosing Market View this Thursday afternoon. Stay with me over the next half an hour as we track developments around the nation's economy and how it feeds into the overall sustainable economic growth of the country. Coming up on the show, I'm in conversation with our in-house business journalist, Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla, who caught up with senior specialist for employees' activities under the International Labour Organization. The organization says it is looking forward to Finance Minister Neil Reichenberg's budget speech, which is set to be tabled tomorrow. The ILO says they want to see keen focus on improving infrastructure through the support of information communication and technology. We will develop that conversation with Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla, but we will wrap up the show with economist Sanelis Bia taking us through the latest financials. For now, let's start the show with business news. Good afternoon once again. I'm Sifiso Ngumalo. The International Labour Organization has trained the Board of Directors of Business Eswatini on the importance of following labour laws. Business Eswatini's president, Vuselelo Fagutsa, says they initiated this training because no business can thrive in the business environment if it is not conducive, and this includes following the country's laid down labour laws.
We're here to induct us into what it is that we need to look out for as an employer organization, because we know how to run our corporates and our boards, but it's always challenging to understand how we link into the International Labour Organization and how they also view us as a country and how they view us as a private sector in Eswatini. So we're here to learn more from what their expectations are and what we can do as the private sector in Eswatini to embrace all the good principles that come from them. There is no business without people, and whether they are employers or employees, ultimately they are all people, and it is important that we find a way to embrace them. We find a way to embrace each other. People issues are always going to be there. What the ILO is helping us with is to understand how to interact in a positive way. Like, for instance, child labor. Nobody wants to buy from a country that uses child labor in their workplace. So it's bringing those practices and making us aware of the things that can impact us as a country if we don't comply with the conventions of the ILO.
Last year, Business Eswatini actually elected a new board, and they reached out to the ILO in the context of our role in the ILO for building the capacity of employers. And they reached out requesting for induction of their new board members. And we thought that this is an opportunity not just to induct them in terms of the role of a board members, but also to give them a perspective and an understanding of the ILO and how it relates to business. So you see, there is a very good connection and a very good reason why it becomes very imperative for business to be aware of their responsibilities, not just their obligations, but their responsibilities, but also their rights within this whole process of developing labor conventions, which are eventually translated to the local law, which governs the way that they run business.
The Eswatini Tourism Authority says it is strengthening its marketing initiatives to ensure that the sector continues to make meaningful contribution to the country's economy. The acting chief executive officer, Simpiwe Ngubeni, said this when asked about programs in place to boost tourism in the country.
We very much align with the Nkwe Declaration, whereby everyone is supposed to do what is supposed to be done. And we very much appreciate the support that we are receiving from the government in terms of ensuring visibility, in terms of marketing the country. As we move forward to the budget speech, We very much believe that, as it has been declared that tourism is one of the, pillars of economic drive. We want to believe it will be also reflected on the budget. We do have, our traditional, means of marketing the destination, which we will, kind of continue with. But post-COVID, the whole, tourism space has changed, where we are now entering into the digital space, which is, the long-term plan that, we must enter into that space also. But it does also require, a lot of resources to accomplish that. And we also have our research department, which plays a key role in terms of giving the statistics and strengthening the marketing initiatives, identifying which areas we need to focus on. I wanted to also, add on the Triland initiative. We have seen in the past there was this excursion that was undertaken in 2022. We did, see an immediate impact in terms of tour operators, the youth, joining the work on. And we are also seeing, immediate, impact in terms of packaging of the country, of the 3 countries as a destination. So it is working for us.
All right, that's it for our business segment. Let's talk to Nel Siwe after the break, talking about the International Labour Organization's expectations on tomorrow's budget speech.
sabadani ukuthi njengaloku sifile sive sikhulume
Welcome back. The International Labour Organization says it looks forward to a budget of Eswatini which will focus on improving infrastructure through the support of information communication and technology. Maria Molebatsi, the Senior Specialist for Employees Activities from the International Labour Organization, says for Eswatini to be one of the best economies, it has to invest heavily on infrastructure. But what does she really mean by heavily on infrastructure? Nelsie, welcome to the program. You had a conversation with her. What does she really mean by infrastructure? Such a broad word.
She specifically mentioned ICT, that it's important ukuthi live leSwatini liqinise kakhulu tindzaba tayo iICT, kepha-ke sifisa ngicela ukuthi simove because uyachaza ukuthi engabe yini imbambambamba lena lefuneka ukuthi
let's listen to her.
For business, what is very important are 2 or 3 important things. Firstly, it's the amount of money that government is going to put aside for development, because it is those development projects that will give business to business on the ground. That is, to companies to be able to construct roads, construct hospitals, schools, and all that. That money actually goes to boost the activities of the private sector. And in turn, it empowers you and me and everybody on the streets, because when you get paid, you spend the money at the business. So there's that circle. Yeah? Secondly, it is what the government intends to do in terms of creating an environment that will enable the growth and the competitiveness of Eswatini companies as they compete internationally, but also as they create employment on the ground and alleviate poverty. those conditions that are set for business are very critical because they can either make or break the companies in Eswatini and stifle or promote their ability to create employment for Amaswatis.
Yeah, quite a big interest there for Eswatini's companies to compete on an international scale. Nelsie, where it's really critical. We definitely need that, and I do see how that can be, enhanced through the use of ICTs. But maybe just, an overview really of the conversations that you had with Molebati.
Ukhulumise kakhulu Sifiso indzaba yekuthi uhulumende kumele afocuse kakhulu ekukhuliseni wona umnotfo bese kutebuchwephesha ngoba emavela amaningi emhlaba nyalo sewasebenzisa dona kakhulu tebuchwephesha siphinzeke sabukisana ukuthi engabe yini yena afocuse lana kude business siyathi ukuthi amabhizinisi uma angawulandzeli umthetho siyathi ukuthi umnotfo ngeke uze ukhule kahle because for a business to survive and thrive in these economic times it takes for it ukuthi iqinise kakhulu indlela nalephatha ngayo tisebenzi tayo.
Yeah, and indeed we know that the International Labour Organization enhlitweni yabo lokhamba embili vele is the labor,
yes,
is the workforce.
Yes.
Engabe nisaxoxisana nabo sibabonile itolo bakhuluma ngabo decent work program. Engabe titsini tingxoxiswano leni benato mayelana nokuthi tisebenzi tona na iphela budget speech sibuke ngalabovu. Yes, sigadzile vele. Engabe kulamaphakelo nanikhulumisa inhlala kahle tisebenzi nihambe nafika.
Kule tenhlala kahle yetisebenzi bachazile ukuthi live leSwatini is doing quite well ngalapho because siyathi ilitiko laka labor linayo i-Employment Act which is being amended. I think the bill is currently in parliament lapho babuka khona kakhulu tindzaba tekuthi engabe kusebenta kwetisebenzi kungiloko lokukahle yini. Sinayo i-Industrial Relations Act libuke kakhulu kwekuthi engabe boma disputes etisebenzi khona khamba kanjani. The Industrial Relations Act ngiyo le establish abosimak iphinze i-establish i-Labor Advisory Board. I-Labor Advisory Board ngiyo ke lebese ibuka ukuthi asengibekise nje litiko laka labor nalithi litawukhipha ipolicy noma litawukhipha any other working tools ngilo lebandla leliqinisekise ukuthi ngabe how will this impact letisebenzi. So i-International Labour Organization isite live leSwatini is coming, okay. Lenye indzaba lesiyitekile ngiyo indzaba ye-migration policies. Tiko laka labor linawe migration policies kuthi na uhamba la kangwane na ubuya la kangwane usasebenta khona mhlawumbe usaya kwesebenza nakulamanye imave liyabuka ukuthi kungabese phela kushushumbiswa abantu. So Eswatini is really doing great in these policies, although the Minister of Labour is currently maybe amending some of these acts njengoba lamanye asawale kubo 1980.
And certainly, usakhuluma, I'm just reminded of, usiyanaka lo ukuthi bona bahlale vele bathi we are looking at summing up the aspirations of a workforce kuphinza kukhulunyiswa tindzaba tabo pay inequality, and like you are saying live la kangwane lenda kahle noma linayo ama programs that address le tindvo lethu. We just saw our Prime Minister speaking to SOEs, CEOs uyithinzile nalendzaba leyo ukuthi indzaba le kufuna ukuthi ilungiswe because we will remember ukuthi ikhulunyisiwe sibayenda socio economic issues lavile ukuthi emaswati ayakhala silo semhlaba size sathinza ukuthi uthi uyothenga esitolo bona akukufikisi
bonsumbulwane baba bancane. I think because we are going to the budget speech, I took interest in watching His Majesty's speeches bayeni washo ukuthi sithenga esitolo sinye, but the economists are saying if government is going to increase la maholo, that will maybe bring the inflation up because la maholo they eat on le mali yelive le budget yelive. So yes, they have to tread carefully there. Yeah.
Let's listen to the next clip, Maria Molebati.
It's the government creating an enabling environment for business. It's also the extent to which government is putting focus on the infrastructure that enables business to do business, i.e., talking about ICT. Today, economies are moving digital. Does Eswatini has the robust network in terms of telecommunications, in terms of ICT to be able to do business? Do we have the right roads, railway networks, air traffic that allows business to move their goods between countries. Those are very critical. The other issue is around skills, because the ILO has done a research that actually revealed that today, skills is the currency of modern business. And therefore, it becomes very important that government has in place policies that will enable Eswatini businesses to attract the right skills and to be able to retain them. So that is very important. The third point that is important is the one that talks to public service and the public servants themselves, because they are there not only to serve the citizens of Eswatini, but also to facilitate business processes. So, in effect, if you have public servants that are happy, that are working and delivering diligently, that will translate into satisfied businesses, because they receive their services in time and they are being able to be facilitated for them to carry on their businesses and be competitive in the international market.
Yeah, I'm nodding my head because I agree with a lot of the things that she's saying. Quite critical in Zimbabwe, we would see kufuna sibukete imigwaqo yethu, our railroads, our airways ekuthenini sime kanjani lapho sisabuka indzaba tekuthengiselana nelsiwe. Maybe sisangena nje kuyo i-budget speech sikhulumise le ndzaba ukuthi simephi vele nasikhulumisa our imigwaqo yethu, ema railroads nekundiza nje empeleni ngoba nasithengisana nalanye amafe lokho vele sithinga ukuthi kube
Sibonile Renak asukumisa indiza yelive. I think it was a joyful moment kwekuthi Eswatini sotawuhamba tindzawo letinengi. We are hoping ukuthi that will expand kwekuthi mhlambe sigcine sesithengisa nathi sikhona kuthatha impahla. Lokunye lesikubonile, I think His Majesty has mentioned ukuthi 400 kilometers of roads tisadzinga ukuthi tibe tarred. We have seen government abeka imali le over 500 million in last year's budget tindzabente ukuthi kufanele ukuthi kulungiswe imigwaqo kanye nema-feeder roads. So really in the part ye infrastructure we are yet to see ukuthi ngabe i-budget itayi-addressa kanjani indzaba yekuthi tinkhundla tisalwe tifakwa tiba tebuchwephesha. We have talked about the RSTP saying they need 38 million emalangeni to revamp the infrastructure yetinkhundleni. Those are the things lesbuka ukuthi
certainly quite interesting. What I'm loving about all these conversations that we're having and all these recommendations, I think over the course of the weeks, we get a lot of recommendations by the World Bank. As they make these recommendations, there are already programs that government is already spearheading, and not just government alone, as well as other government stakeholders. I think nasibuka nje indzaba border issues lebeyiqhutshwa ngibo baka RES nema stakeholders la qhamuka khona eSouth Africa and other neighboring countries, and I think leyo ithelelana kahle ngendzaba ye trade lebekayithinza ukuthi imigwaqo ayibe ngilelungile nasemahekeni abakhanze ukuthi kuvuliwe nanga 12 ebusuku kude futhi congestion.
And the Trade Facilitation Committee's FISO has promised to hit the ground running. As His Majesty has said, the Trade Facilitation Committee ayisebende to make Eswatini the economic hub. So we have talked to them and they said we are doing this job and ngeke vele size silale. Bosomnotho ke sifiso lokunye labakuvetako kwekuthi uma nje uhulumende kule budget lena nga increase lama zero rated commodities siyathi ukuthi nangabe uyothenga inyama uyayibhadala i-VAT. Kepha na uyothenga impuphu awuyibhadali VAT, noma ke uyothenga lelo libisi awuyibhadali VAT emabhontshisi. Bathi uma ngamane nje uhulumende increase ngalapho nalenyama ayifake kumbe kungalunga nekuthi kangakhulisi ema taxes. Sibonile nakuthulwa ibudget even labo makhelwane eNingizimu Afrika labakukhulisile nje ngilesini tax lolugwayi nani. So we are hoping ukuthi as this budget is tabled kutawu izeka nalama economic cost of living pressures for eMaswati.
So many things are exciting now, Siwe. And I'm happy. Itolo nje uthinza indzaba lenkulu kakhulu indzaba ema food gifts. Nanayo lesemedi market ekubo UK lesivulekile. We really excited to see that happening staba hlot market estabuya sikhulumisana nasane lesiphiwo.
Residents of Simunye and surrounding areas are notified that intense TV license door-to-door inspections are being conducted in the region. The exercise starts on the 19th to the 28th of February 2024. Stay alert. Our TV license inspectors will be wearing Eswatini TV gear and will have tags that confirm their identity. Don't be scammed. Our inspectors do not ask for cash payments. Pay your TV license only at specified pay points or call us on 34050163 or 78024545 for more information. Alternatively, you can send a WhatsApp message to 76222000 and we'll chat with you. Pay your TV license today, enhance the industry.
Ujala masada mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu sivile sive sithi khulumeni.
It's 22 minutes after 2. We welcome Sanele Sibiya, our in-house economist with us. Sibiya, welcome to the program. I want us to start with the U.S. markets. A lot of mixed reactions there. What is happening?
No, thank you for having me. So in the US, sibonile ukuthi in as much as data lephumile isho ukuthi kusese ivele ema-reactions wokuthi ama-interest rates angahlaphuti ekucala kwehla yehla but nje siyabona ukuthi imarket nato react ngekwehlukana. So nawubuka there is positives laphana kuma-retailers ku-S&P 500 in-ma-industrials kodwa siyabona ukuthi nangena ku-Nasdaq ima-technology stocks they are not really doing that well kulamalanga ngalokuthi le interest rate ngathi iphushele embili so wona aresponde kakhulu kuloko so le optimism incanyana ngalapho.
It's very interesting. I'm just wondering though, what is really impacting all of these, developments in the US?
In the US. So lesikubona kokubili, okay, singathi kuthathu. Kwekucala siyabona ukuthi imarket say optimistic.
Okay.
Noma ngabe leti nombolo tisavela tetfuse but consumer and producer sentiments seka improve so wonke umuntu usobuka forward to a better tomorrow. I-economy lenconywana ngakusasa ikakhulu sesigadzana kwehla kwama-interest rate. So nawubuka le inflation yase-United States yona is say very close to lo 2% like awufike ibe confident khona i-Reserve Bank, i-Federal Reserve Bank ukuthi cha seyingawehlisa ama-interest rates. So ngokungazi ukuthi leti nombolo tase-US tinako lokho ukuthi siyathemba but nje nyalo tihle sibuyele emuva.
Perhaps usakhuluma ngendzaba ye-optimism. It's quite interesting what is happening in London because I think quite recently we heard ukuthi kune technical recession, skatsevele recession, but let nombolo cisha tikuveti lokho nyalo.
Yes, nawubuka le ndlela imarket lethamba ngayo namhla eLondon tinako lokukhomba ukuthi cha ngoba onke ama-indices akhona avala yasetulu yo futhi 100 ivale nje isetulu yatshengisa kona ukuthi nakhona lokuthi lonyaka le inflation iholdile kulo 4% kusho ukuthi le market seyingacala ibuke forward lokwehla kwama-interest rates noko isesekhashane ngoba lokuyawusita le technical recession ngilokuthi kucale kwehla lama-interest rates kwenyuke i-demand ku-main street bese sengikhona-ke tinfo tibuya so lokuthi le inflation iyaresponda to lama policies Bank of London or Bank of England ngiko lokho into angazi ukuthi imarket solo tinelithemba. So what really is driving the economy kulamalanga is optimism, hope, in as much as siyaye hope is not a strategy in
Right.
business. Kodwa nyalo nje i-marketing ngiyo le kubona ukuthi iphushwa ngile hope nje ukuthi abantu banelithemba ukuthi cha sesiyafika ekugcineni sekungconywana.
It's quite interesting how hope can, have an effect on markets. And I think that's a perfect segue to look at South Africa because it's election year.
Yes.
While we election year, sikhathe budget speech. Engabe lesive sinako lokuthi okay, sifuna kuba hopeful ngalana kuma elections nabo minister ngalana abasestablisha i-budget. Engabe badayitablisha ngeliqiniso lelingakanani nayo affecta kanjani market?
Sibonile ukuthi kube nanalesi sithi electioneering of budgets kuthi nasekiwe likhethweni uhulumende lo sesihlalweni uyaye bese ufuna kwenta tonke izinto ngendlela ethawini lamavoti. Sibonile ukuthi bachubekile bayibamba i-social grant abakayihambisi lo 350 lothola noma ngangibani eSouth Africa and anyukile nema social grants. So lokuthi market siyakubuka ukuthi cha i-demand itawunyuka kulelo hlangothi. Phindze sabuka ukuthi na ungena ngalana emabhizinisini uthembisile uhulumende ukuthi kukhona la kata ukwenda uyifakile le mali nje ngase una 294 billion loya ku infrastructure investments nje kuphela. So the market naloko info letibuketa aba hopeful takujabulela ukuthi cha now in the construction sector le government expenditure itawu booster. Kodwa ke kukhona lothi kunale nkinga yokuthi le deficit yakhe kontowane iyenyuka.
Yeah.
So uyathembisa kodwa ukuthi utayinciphisa ngabo 2026. So the market ngongazi ukuthi athi kabi bullish ngalendlela besitigathe sithi awugijima ngayo uma sibuka lokuthi nje we are fresh from the budget with the promises and everything.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting how South Africa is reacting to Minister Kondongwana's budget. Indzaba nje lo itsinza kwema social grants ngedwa kwa 100 amalangeni, imiye 100 amalangeni. A lot of excitement from labanye, but labanye bathi they are kissing their teeth. So it's really interesting what is happening there. Maybe sesibuya ekhaya, we are still hoping ukuthi i-budget speech itawuba khona kusasa. Engabe ku-affecta kanjani lokho njengoba sesisonzele kakhulu kangaka?
Masibuketa naloko the market atikabi leti responda kangako. So loti edge around 470 all share the average indexes. But nasibuka na ungena kulama individual stocks uyabona ukuthi ibona la capital so lo baya leader in terms of volumes that have been traded actually mkonyeni precast in terms of volume. So we are seeing lokho ukuthi aya ngekwenyuka emaswati la kayithenga kolishele ilena la capital ngiloko ukuthi vele sinelithemba kusasa kokuthi without naka-establish budget minister avele atenyuse tema capital expenditure. So si expecta ukuthi tinkampani leti construction titawubenefita kakhulu kuleto hlangothi.
Asasibukeke lilangeni naselikhomparisha ne-United States dollar and the other currencies with everything that we've discussed. I think kuyakhona lokusiniketa sithombe ehle sikahle.
Yes. No uma ubuka le optimism lekhona kule market leti lengesheya ngentende lilangeni lethu labane kuba weak kancane compared to both the euro and leli dollar. Lokho ku drive ngile optimism and the stronger economy. Ama economies abo kulamalanga aperforma ngendlela lesetulu kakhulu. Same thing na ubuka nel Japanese yen siluze liluze ema points lamabidlana lilangeni lethu compared to that. Nakhona ngile optimism that is coming out of Asia Minor kokuthi nyalo with the movements that are happening in mainland China lokwehliswa kwe-mortgage rate kuyatshengisa ukuthi sitake siyisebente kangconywana lenzaba instability in the financial sector in Hong Kong. So lokho kuyasita ke market ukuthi tiba stronger le maveni if le tethu tingaphakami kanganani ngosokhanza ukuthi le exchange rate yethu seya ngendenga against all these three currencies kulelanga lanamuhla.
$1 equivalent to 18 emalangeni 85 cents. I think it's time for me to hit up my United States friends ukuthi bangisendele $1 amancane. Yeah, but I'm also looking at the Japanese yen. 0 point at 0 point. It's basically nothing.
Yes, kusho ukuthi lilangeni lethu lilinye liliye Japanese yen lilinye lingu 12 cents la ngasekhaya. So nakhona uyabona ukuthi kusukela itolo ibese seliya gena al Japanese yen compared to lilangeni ngalama optimism that is happening across the globe. So siyathemba kusama kuphuma ibudget nathi kutawuthu uyabona le optimism la inyuka ngalakhaya ukhanza ukuthi depending ukuthi trade itahamba kanjani with South Africa nalamavela amanye.
Interesting. Sesivele ke sigathe yona i budget speech Hopefully, we do see it tomorrow. Otherwise, we've come to the end of the program. Thank you for joining us yet again. In fact, it's been the last episode of the week. Market View Sotazake Abuye Evegini Leltago. Thank you for tuning in once again. Nibe nempela sonto lenhle.